begin with, you may think I'm alone, but I'm not. There's a dead person living in my house. I don't mean a ghost, just trying to be light. Since at this late date, there's not much point in my telling you the story of Emmett. You know him as Mr. Sibbald, or just the neighbor, and me. Not that I think you'd sit still for it. You'd never say out loud that you thought I should spend the rest of my life mourning your father. But for the past 20 years, I could read in your faces the change in my status from mom to the widow mom. But that's all right. I told myself, I myself thought I'd always loved the father of my children. But as it turns out, you don't always know what you're going to feel as the years go by. I am not blaming him. I'm not saying that secretly he was a terrible person.
Sit down.
He was the man I married.
I'll take out the.
I had my reasons. I had reasons for lots of things that I wouldn't do now. We didn't have much in common. I suppose everybody's got their blind spots. Well, this is about yours. Emmett was like a magical person. Somebody who knew things, who noticed things other people don't. He was the one who saw, I don't know which one of you did this. By the time you all staged your intervention, you were clearly all on the same page, as they say, as though life was a ladies' book club. I guess you think I was having a regular day of wine and roses here? From what? Grief? Loneliness? Which I call independence. Emmett was my caregiver. There was more to it than that. Use your imaginations. But I asked him not to come around when you all were here, after the two of you who met him were so icy and suspicious. Did you think he was after my money? What money? Did any of you even ask if I had trouble paying my bills? Hospital? Fine. You didn't know about that, but still. I didn't expect to lose my caretaker. He didn't expect it either. A virus is what? A little speck of dust? A little microscopic thing? And yet they say, once it's in you, it can make millions or billions of copies of itself, which is only the same thing humanity's done. Are we an infection? The point is, there's really no barrier between us and everything else. We like to think of a world full of separate objects. This is me in this little envelope of skin here, and this is America with a dotted line to the north, a dotted line to the south. But those dotted lines are just imaginary. And probably I am too. since I hardly remember the woman who married your father. Calling a place by a new name doesn't change what it is, and calling a person by the same name doesn't mean she's the same either. So we had to switch briefly, and I became Emmett's caregiver. That's when I called and said, I didn't want to see you anymore. You didn't put up much of a fight. Let's be honest. The reasons I gave you weren't lies. I was tired of your suspicions, of being told how old and thin and awful I looked. Once I had fewer hairs on my head than I have fingers and toes, I didn't want to hear it anymore. What seemed like rejection to you was a boundary that I made for myself that only I knew was there. And Emmett, he went so fast. Last thing that he said to me when he could still talk was, I will wait for you. They took his corpse away, but of course he wasn't in it. There is more all around us than what we can see or smell or touch or feel. Even dogs know this. I believe he's waiting. And if I'm wrong, oh well. Keys to the cars. Oh, hold on. You know your mother was never very good with computers. All right. Keys to the cars. The big one here hasn't been driven in a while. You remember the saying back then, not your father's Oldsmobile? Well, this one's it. Keys. Oh, by the way, you didn't believe me. None of you. You wrote me off as a drunk. You'll find the will, trust papers, title to the house of Dad's stupid boat in the bottom right-hand drawer of my desk. Oh, and
That's great.
when I got my diagnosis, I thought, hell's bells. This is it. I didn't want to deal with weeping and gnashing of teeth. I thought I would do everyone the courtesy of fading away quietly, very quietly. I had to tell Emmett, he was the one who was taking me to all my doctor's appointments, and the one who gently kept reminding me, inoperable doesn't mean untreatable. So I thought I'd give radiation a try. I'm sure it works for some people. It wasn't long before I'd wake up every morning with half my hair on the pillow. The burns on my head made wigs excruciating. So when you saw me with what hair I had left plastered down all over my skull, it was the best I could do. It didn't mean I was drunk. messing up my words didn't mean I was drunk. I told you that. I can almost hear you now saying, Mom, why didn't you tell us it was a brain tumor? Why couldn't you believe me? I had a right to decline further treatment. Emmett respected that, but I'm sorry, I had no reason to believe that you would. I didn't think I could bear a whole lot of tearful arguments about how much you needed me in your lives. Oh, you'll be fine.
Yes.
Palliative care, by the way, is marvelous. I'm like a new woman, new lease on life and all that. They tell me it may not last, but I feel and look, well, 6 months younger. That was enough, kids. If you're viewing this, I'm already gone. And you probably know most probably all of this by now. You'll know things that I won't be around to find out. I very much doubt that I will deliberately overdose on the morphine, for instance. And that's one of the things that you know now. It's on the far side of the river in the landscape of my mind, or what's left of it. Thank you for being my children. I loved being your mother when we all loved each other. Your father, no one can accuse him of being artistic, but dying in his prime gave a lovely shape to his life, from the outside at least. Mine's more like a broken bone. In the time I have left, well, maybe I'll even get drunk. Though I doubt it, because everything tastes so off. It's the way formaldehyde smells.
Oh.
I keep listening and watching for Emmett. But I suppose now the ghost living in my house, the dead person living in my house, is me.
Oh.
One last.
That's very powerful.